Right. Hello and welcome to the Father and Son podcast, Formula One podcast. I am the father in the title, Graham Miller, and here's my son, Toby.
Hello.
We're going to try and keep on topic today, but we did go and see the 24 Heures Du Mans. I think before the Spanish Grand Prix, actually. This is the first podcast we've done since.
Yeah, it was in the week between the Canadian Grand Prix, I think, and Spanish Grand Prix, which is very convenient.
It was really well organised, and because this is actually a Formula One podcast and not a WEC podcast, World Endurance Cars Championship, I'm going to start a timer and we'll shut up after 5 minutes because we've got to talk about it. It's live motorsport. There are 18 ex-Formula One drivers on the grid anyway, so we can kind of tie it in.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to say is, if you've ever listened to music, whatever your genre is, you listen to it on your phone or in your car or sit in your special chair with your record player, however you listen to it, imagine doing that your whole life and then suddenly going to a live concert. That's exactly what it was like visiting a live motorsport event.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for one thing, the sound was entirely different. You could feel it in your chest when you were as close as you could get to the track and be safe. But there's also the fact that it was like a festival, to be honest. Everybody there loved motorsport. Even like if you're queuing up to get a burger or something, everybody around you was wearing motorsport t-shirts. They were talking about the race. I actually saw somebody in the queue for the burgers holding actually a coffee table sized lump of carbon fibre. Somebody must have lost a wing or something and somehow he managed to grab it. But the whole weekend was just motorsport focused. All the cars in the car parks we actually got a bit bored of seeing Ferraris, didn't we, Toby?
Yeah, I mean, there were about 1 million Porsches, lots of fancy Ferraris and stuff, and after a while you see, like, a sort of mid-level Ferrari, and it's like seeing a Ford Mondeo, really.
Yeah. There were a few Lamborghinis. I saw two of my favourite cars, which are 30s pre-war Bentleys. There were two of them there. They were near an articulated car transporter lorry, so I've got a feeling they were probably car transported down, but I just don't care. I absolutely love the things. There were Lamborghinis floating about.
There was that Citroen, was it a CX or an XM?
Oh yeah, there were lots of obscure French cars. There was a Citroen CX, there was a Simca Matra. There were like stuff ordinary people wouldn't notice, like 80s level Renault 5s and Peugeot 205s.
We see our 4CV?
Oh, Renault 4, I think.
We saw a 2CV though, didn't we?
Yeah, there were 2 CVs, there were Renault 4s.
Many Twingos, which was hilarious.
Twingo. But it was just an incredible experience, and the fact that we were camping on site meant that even if we weren't at the track and watching, I mean, seriously, me and Toby were sat there in chairs. We went with Toby's younger brother, the middle brother, Ruben, and we would just be sat around the campsite having a drink and some food and a chat. And you could actually tell what was going on because all of a sudden the sound level dropped.
Yeah.
Toby got his phone out and it was all coarse yellows. And the whole volume came down.
And actually I could hear, because there was a live tracker map, and I could hear a big patch of cars go past after the safety car when they were all bunched up. And then it would get quiet, and I could see that group on the map. And I could see, oh, so we're there then, because I could hear them just shoot past.
Yeah. And the other thing that struck me was there's 3 classes that compete and 62 cars on lap, on track. And it just seemed a bit more polite and gentlemanly than a Formula One race. I think the track is wider compared to the cars than most F1 tracks.
Yeah.
There weren't particularly blue flag problems. If like a hypercar was lapping an LMP or a GT3, there wasn't like any big sense of aggravation or anything.
Well, yeah, it really is. Like in Formula One, you have like a Williams being lapped by a Ferrari. They won't even fight. It's like that, but to the next level, because they're not even in the same class. So there's almost no point really trying to fight.
Well, no, because like fighting and following is what costs you lap time ultimately, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And neither of them really want to do that. So. But yeah, the only slight, well, not really disappointment, change to plans. We were going to go and see an abandoned racetrack on the Monday, but I, for various reasons I won't go into, lost my driving licence. Not legal, medical, I'll quickly say.
It does make it sound like you've committed lots of crimes and...
No. It's all medical. But my two sons did an awful lot of driving, so on Monday we didn't go down and see Rangers, which is a track that was abandoned in 72. Nearly got demolished, and just as they were halfway through demolishing the pits, a new mayor was elected. You almost can't make this up. And he saw it as a great big heritage opportunity, so he literally stopped the bulldozers. And then they cleared all the undergrowth, and there's now a preservation society, so when we go back to France, that's first on the list for definite.
Yeah.
It was the Grand Prix de Marne, I think it was called. Marnes was held there up until 72.
Yeah.
Okay, that was remarkably disciplined. We're just coming up to 5 minutes now.
Oh, damn. I wanted to talk about it more about the actual racing and, like, Ferrari have won it twice in a row now.
Right, I can segue here.
Yes.
Ferrari won 24 Heures Du Mans.
Yes.
Ferrari won Monaco.
Yes.
Penske Motorsport won the Indy 500.
Mm-hmm.
And what they have in common is they're all sponsored by Shell Motorsport.
Ah.
So this year, Shell Motorsport, kind of in theory, I know it's normally an individual driver thing.
Yeah.
But they've got the Triple Crown.
It's normally individual driver, much less one team, much less a massive oil company.
Yeah, but every single team, every single car that won all three of the Triple Crown events this year,
yeah,
had the Shell logo on it. It's just a nice little kind of weird fact, really. I don't think it means, oh my god, Shell Motorsport, brilliant. Right, do you want 1 minute to talk about the actual racing?
Yeah, I mean, it was more exciting than I thought it was going to be, because I was sort of under the impression that it was sort of going to be massive field spread, because if one team is like a second a lap faster, over 24 hours, I don't even know how many laps it was it like 300 or something?
311, I think.
That's going to be 1 second a lap. That's suddenly like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, I was expecting to just sit there and see a car go past and have no idea if they were 3 laps down or the leader.
Yeah, well, when I was watching the start, obviously the start happens, then the first lap, it's all the hypercars go past, then there's a short break and all the LMP2s, maybe there's 1 or 2 hypercars sort of, mixed up with the LMP2s if they had a bad start, and then all the GT3s. And you kind of got a sense for which car sounded like which, and the Cadillac hypercar sounded the best, I thought. It was so sort of deep and, like, rumbly. And then after a while, you could see the gaps getting bigger, and I actually was on the track long enough after the start to see the hypercars start to lap the GT3 cars.
Oh, wow. And we have to say there was 6 hours of safety cars, because while we were all tucked up in our tents, they absolutely hammered it down. And I was saying to, both the boys really, that driving on the motorway at night in the rain is kind of scary and dangerous, and you tend to back off. So the thought of driving at night in the rain on a track where you've got basically a 200 mile an hour back straight, which is probably why they actually safety carred it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've really gone over our 5 minutes.
Yeah, I've got 8 minutes into the podcast, so let's move on.
Where I am. So we were in Spain this week.
We were in Formula 1 was in Spain.
Formula 1.
We were in France just a week ago, not Spain, but yeah.
Oh, we mentioned... No.
Yeah.
I actually want to talk about FP3.
FP3?
Because something very odd, I think it was FP3, happened. Two of the most level-headed and calmish drivers out there, not your Magnussens or your Ocons, Charles Leclerc and Lance Stroll, both kind of had a red mist and used their cars to basically attack other drivers.
Yes, I did see... So, I think Leclerc brake tested, I think it was Norris, rather than driving into him as such, but yeah, it's still not good.
No, I think, I've seen the video, I think Leclerc actually swerved across track. I think he moved over to give Norris some space, and then he just went over. There was actually contact and damage, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember what Stroll did to Hamilton, but it was fairly similar.
think he sort of basically ran him off track, but very quick. I can get the highlights up on my phone and just have a look real quick. But yeah.
I read, as you probably know if you've been listening, I read a lot online. And the point is that they both got, I think, a reprimand and a couple of points on their previously spotless super license, which means they can do it another 4 times without penalty.
Hmm.
And that was it. And they were saying that the trouble with that is that all the drivers coming up through even F4, F3, F2, they all look to Formula 1 as, this is where I'm going. This is the peak of my career.
The pinnacle of motorsport.
And if they see this kind of behaviour going basically unpunished. Apparently there was a similar incident a couple of races ago in Formula 3.
Yeah, I remember that. And again,
there wasn't... What's that?
I remember that. I don't remember who it was, but...
It was in Australia and they chucked somebody into the wall.
Yeah.
And I think this is like, actually not just Formula 1, this is one of my big bugbears about life in general. People tend to look at the consequences of the actions and not the kind of intent and the seriousness.
Yeah.
And in my mind, whether there was damage to Norris or Hamilton's car, or whether they got spun out into a wall, or whether they drove away from it with no damage, that's irrelevant. The fact is, these guys were at speed using their cars as weapons, basically.
Yeah.
And you need to send a message that this is not allowed.
I think the best example of that is what Alonso did to Russell in Australia, which was basically what Leclerc did to Norris, except Alonso was actually further away. He brake tested Russell to sort of get in his head. Russell spun out and ended up upside down across the track. So obviously that's a DNF. It's put another driver in danger. And so Alonso got like 3 points on his license or something, and like a hefty penalty. Whereas when Norris and when Leclerc and Stroll did it, they got much lighter penalty.
Yeah, I think they've got to start doing like grid place drops for stuff like that, so they know that if they do it, it will impact their race.
Yeah. Do you remember?
It's kind of
a couple of years ago, I think it was 2017. Vettel did it to Hamilton in a Ferrari because he thought Hamilton brake tested him under the safety car. I think it was Baku, and he just came up alongside and knocked wheels, and he got, I think, actually a stop go.
Yeah, 10-second stop go. I mean, I actually remember like Schumacher. You can even go back to like Senna, Prost doing.
Well, they've obviously done that, yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of also it's in free practice.
Yeah, it's kind of not much point, really, is there?
It's like the most.
It literally doesn't matter at all.
I think it was James Allison said there's a reason why when you look at the free practice times, Hamilton is often quicker in free practice than he is in qualifying.
Mm.
And he said what the thing is that the car, the way they've got it set up, it doesn't react well to being, as he put it, hustled.
Mm.
And the really great advantage traditionally that Hamilton has had in qualifying that seems to have evaporated is that when the adrenaline's pumped up, when everybody's saying you've got enough time to get to the line and then nail one hot lap and that's it, qualifying's over. When that happens, Hamilton is brilliant because he can hustle. He can put more pressure on the car, he can brake fractions of a second later, he can optimise.
Yeah.
But Allison's saying when you do that to this particular Mercedes with the upgrades, the performance just falls away.
Yeah.
But when you're out in a free practice and it's fairly chill and you're going round and you're sending data back, it actually reacts better. It's really weird.
Yeah, but it looks like he's sort of got a handle on it a bit because if we move onto qualifying, he was third.
Yeah.
And he actually beat Russell for the first time in a while, I think.
Yeah, but he beat him by 0.02 of a second.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it wasn't good that he beat him, but I'm saying it was so close.
Yeah, it's just been, well, very tight between third, fourth and fifth, and also between first and second. There's actually that's like a 0.3 gap between Verstappen and Hamilton.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting that McLaren have actually, I think they have actually caught up now to Red Bull.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion. I think Norris and Verstappen can't agree between them as to which of them has got the fastest car. And it's not what you think. It's not Max going, well, the Red Bull's faster.
No.
I think it's the other way around. I think Max thinks that the McLaren's a little bit faster, and Norris thinks that the Red Bull's a bit faster, but it is that close to nip and tuck.
Well, they both want to say that, because if Verstappen wins, he can say, well, the McLaren's faster, I'm just that good. And if Norris doesn't win, he says, well, the Red Bull's faster, so that's why I didn't win. It doesn't really serve you to say we've got the fastest car on the grid, because then if you win, everyone's like, yeah, okay, that's expected, and if you don't, everyone's like, well, why didn't you win then?
Yeah, but I think it also indicates how close they are. But
I doubt even the teams know. I think it's probably even down to like the fact that Verstappen got a tow, and I don't know if Norris did or not, but it's now down to the point where they're having, like, they sacrificed Perez's qualifying to give him a tow. That's how close they think it is.
Yeah, it really is very close.
Which is good, finally, after like 2 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is. Again, I saw, like, I think in one of the talking heads bits around the F1, they were saying, why can't we stretch the regulations out a bit? Because 22 and 23 were massive Red Bull dominance.
Mm.
We're now moving into a period where Ferrari have dropped back a bit, but you've really got 4 teams in the mix. Next year was looking like it will be brilliant, because who knows?
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll go back to a new set of regs. It's kind of like, can we have a couple more years of this?
Well, it's a bit like 2021, really. We had 7 years of Mercedes dominance. 1 year of an absolute nail-biting championship between the 2 best drivers on the grid, down to literally the last few laps of the last race.
Well, the last corner, basically.
Yeah. And then we just transitioned straight into another period of total dominance. And it's like, well, we could have had another year or 2 of that.
Yeah.
Like in the sort of the mid-2000s, you had 2005 was Alonso 1, then 6 was Alonso again, 7 was Raikkonen, 8 was Hamilton, 9 was Button, and 10 was Vettel. So it's like 5 different champions in 5 years. It was sort of...
And from 5 different teams.
Yeah, it was total chaos. And then we settled into like 4 years of Red Bull, 7 years of Mercedes, and it's been really boring for like 10 years now.
Yeah. But, I mean, anyway, let's look forward to... Where did we get up to? Qualifying. Yeah, qualifying was, again, super tight.
Yeah, but...
I'm actually much more enjoying qualifying. No, I'm not saying I'm enjoying it more than the race, but it's definitely worth watching the qualifying now, let's put it that way. And it is really edge of the seat. I think this time we had all 8 of the top 4 team drivers up in the qualifying, didn't we?
I'm looking. It looks like it was McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Alpine were actually the 5 teams in the top 10.
Oh yeah, Alpine suddenly...
They found something. I think their car used to be quite overweight, and they found a way to limit that, like reduce it.
Ah.
So, but also I think RB had a massive sort of downfall, like down to 17th and 18th, which they did supposedly bring upgrades in inverted commas, but they haven't really worked, clearly.
Yeah, it's been kind of this, like, what are we up to? This, like, section, third roughly of a season.
Yeah.
Has been, we're just over a third actually, it's been really weird because McLaren have obviously made massive strides to get to the top.
Yeah.
And now Ferrari are falling back just a smidge.
Yeah.
I would say Ferrari are kind of in the place where Mercedes were 3 races ago, where nobody's coming up behind them, but they're just a little tiny gap off the top.
Yeah, no man's land.
Yeah.
They were 5th and 6th, and then you had Piastri and Perez 7th and 8th, and then you have the Aston Martins and the Alpines miles behind.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what actually happened in the race. Oh god, yeah, we had the massive dive down the outside from Russell, didn't we?
That was pretty awesome, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, it's what you want to see.
Because it was like, who's going to take the lead out of Norris and Verstappen? And the answer was the guy who started in P4. Just somehow found a gap between, I think, Verstappen and Hamilton, or Norris and Hamilton.
Well, the thing is, because the way they line up, Verstappen and Russell were on the clean side of the track that goes into the outside of the corner.
Yes, Norris was on
So-
the inside then, yeah.
Lando made, well, not going to say a
Well,
poor start, a less
think-
than optimal start.
No, it wasn't Norris on the... Oh, yeah, Norris was on the outside, which is the racing line. And then I think Verstappen and Russell were on the inside, because Norris pushed him onto the grass, which opened up the outside for Russell to swoop through.
Yeah,
I can
but
have
he
a look
got a
at
massive toe off Verstappen, who started better than Norris.
Yeah, they were saying the toe into turn one would be ridiculous, and it was. If
Yeah.
you're... And... Yeah. It also was... Every time Norris has started on pole, whether in a race or a sprint race, he's lost the lead before the end of the first lap. He's never actually led the first lap of a race from pole.
So that is obviously a weakness.
His starts are... Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine what the adrenaline and the pressure is like either. You know, when you're actually there, you're on pole, you've got the lights all around you just about to go out. You know, it's not just like starting a race. Everybody will be like, all the cameras will be focused on you.
Yeah.
It is. But I mean, again, a really interesting thing is that I think of the last 5 races, there have been 3 where Norris has finished probably within 5 seconds of Max. And every time Max has won, it's what they call like the X factor in music, isn't it? It's that final 1% of, you know, magic almost.
Yeah.
That Max can somehow influence it so that he wins.
Yeah. In the... just looking, in the last 6 races, they finished 1 and 2 in 5 of them.
Yeah.
Only Monaco was the outlier because neither of them were on the podium.
Yeah. And it is kind of... And I mean, really, that's where the championship will be won and lost, because each time Norris is losing
7 odd points?
7 points.
Yeah.
6 or 7 points, depending on the fastest. Yeah, in Canada, he was 3.8 back. And if he'd been making up 7 points, he could have made up 28 or 35 points by this point.
Yeah. And I think the start to the season where he wasn't really there, it was China, he came second, and since then he's only been off the podium once, Norris. So he has stepped it up massively after Miami, and I think it's sort of vindicated
Miami,
him a bit.
he was 7.5 ahead, roughly, of Max.
Yeah.
China, he was 13 behind, so he wasn't in the mix.
But he was still second. He was, he's made that step up to... I mean, people are starting to whisper about a potential championship battle. It does look like that if you look at the results, but then the first 4 races meant that Verstappen's still got 69 points on him.
Yeah.
He's going to be battling Leclerc for second, I think, in the championship.
I mean, that is the problem. Like I say, if it had gone the other way in a couple of races and he'd made... if he'd even got like another 14 points, he'd be like 164 to just over 200, and people would be...
Yeah.
But like I say, it's that final 10%, or probably 1%, that lets Max just kind of almost create chances where there aren't any.
But now he is being pushed now, because he's making mistakes. Like he had a moment at turn 7. He obviously ran over that bollard in Miami. Yeah. He's not cruising anymore, and I think he's actually enjoying it more now.
Yeah, it's actually a proper... Well,
because he actually celebrated...
Fight, but...
Yeah, he celebrated this win properly with the team. He was actually quite chuffed with it, rather than going, oh yeah, that was nice. Good day in the office.
Yeah. Oh yeah, did you get any good data out of that?
Now he's like, oh my god, we won that race. Because he started in second. He probably didn't know for a certainty that it was going to happen.
Well, he wouldn't know until the final lap, because he started in second. And even on the final lap, he was 2.2 seconds ahead.
If there was another 5 laps of the race, Norris would have got him.
But the thing is, like I always say, 2.2 seconds. That's a lock-up at a corner and going wide.
Yeah. Even just like getting the line wrong or a bit of oversteer,
or
even
like
getting held up. Yeah,
spinning out in front of you, or even like one wheel nut not threading on a pit stop.
Well, that's what happened to Norris, isn't it? He lost about 2 seconds to a pit stop. He had a 4-second stop.
Yeah.
Verstappen, I think, had a 1.9.
But that is literally all the... it's not like winning a race by 13 or 20 seconds where you're like,
I think it's one of the commentators, I think it was Karun, said, across the middle stint, from the first to the second stop, they gained and lost no time to each other at all. So if you look at the final stint, Norris gained on him, which means he's actually got he was the fastest car out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is getting properly exciting now.
Yeah, it's
also good to see Hamilton back on the podium.
Yeah, 18th season in a row he's had a podium.
He was actually properly quick. I mean, he was actually kind of almost threatening the top two at some point, wasn't he? Like, Norris, they were telling him we could pit now to cover Hamilton.
Yeah. I mean, you said something really interesting about the Canadian Grand Prix. Neither Russell nor Hamilton were pleased with it. But Russell managed to go from pole to third, and Hamilton went from 7th to
fourth in that race.
So like, actually Hamilton had, on paper, a better race.
Well, yeah. I think Hamilton made a mistake or two in that race because there were a few moments he dropped back. But Russell had a really messy race and still clawed back a third from it.
Yeah.
But this, I think, I also said both of them know their car is faster than that. And now here we are. It's the same result, third and fourth.
They know the potential, don't they?
I think it helps as well that Piastri he messed up in qualifying and he was down in 10th or 9th because of Perez. So he was sort of out of the picture. Perez, for some reason, is just not there either. So if both of them were on it, I think Mercedes are probably the third fastest now they've got ahead of Ferrari. But they're able to sneak those podiums because Verstappen and Norris are so much better than their teammates.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that. I know that Perez gets a lot of basically sledging because, he's just his teammate is there in a car that's winning lots of races, and this time, he was first, and his teammate was first, and he managed to get an 8th from a P11 start.
Yeah.
But there's also Oscar Piastri.
He's starting to, yeah.
You actually, I'm looking at the results from the Spanish Grand Prix here. You've got Red Bull and McLaren, then you've got 2 Mercedes, 2 Ferraris, and then you've got the other McLaren and the other Red Bull.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to... And you look at the standings, and I think Piastri's now 63 points behind his teammate.
Yeah.
That's like 2.5 races.
There is... Yeah, I mean, he came second in Monaco, which was quite good.
Yeah.
He's been fourth 3 times now.
There wasn't actually any racing in Monaco.
Well, no, but it was a good qualifying lap, wasn't it? The qualifying was the result.
Yeah.
But he hasn't quite unlocked what Norris has from the car. But on the other hand, Piastri, this is his 2nd season in F1?
Yeah.
This is Perez's 13th or something. There's there's much less of an excuse with Perez. I think it's especially considering what Verstappen's doing. This is his 4th season with the team or something like that. It's been a longer pairing between Verstappen and Perez than it was any other Red Bull driver, even Vettel and Webber, and he's just being thrashed.
I think we said last time that if Perez gets to race into 2026 with Verstappen, it will be up there with Bottas, Hamilton, and Schumacher, Barrichello, and I think Hakkinen and Coulthard as the longest ever pairings.
I think if he actually fulfills his 2-year contract, in terms of races, they will be the longest pairing at any team ever.
Yeah, it's quite a big if looking at it.
Well, even Verstappen, I saw somewhere, I don't know how real it is, but I think Verstappen started to express concern over the constructors. Because imagine if either Verstappen or Norris had Piastri or Perez in third, the strategy options would have been so much more available. They could have really put the pressure on the other one.
Yeah.
But they both had to just do it on pure pace.
I mean, there's 69 points adrift in the... that's drivers, hold on.
There's 60. Red Bull to Ferrari.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the other thing. McLaren, in a way, are being hampered by Piastri almost as much as Red Bull are being hampered by Perez, so it's not an issue yet.
Yeah, Perez and Piastri they're next to each other in the drivers, but there's actually like 24 points between them. But I think he's been quite unlucky this year as well, because he got punted in Miami. He's been crashed into in Monaco. It obviously didn't affect his result. I don't think he's as bad as the results say, necessarily, whereas a lot of Perez's problems have been sort of self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Like Perez, in the last 4 races, has scored 8 points.
Yeah, it's quite appalling, really.
And Verstappen has scored 3 wins, which is 75 automatically.
So he's actually almost outscored him by 10 times as many points.
Yeah. Well, plus a 6th place, which is, what is that? 7? 8 points. So yeah, about 80 points.
That really is quite... I mean, it's also the fact that Sargent has outqualified Perez on 6 occasions. It's like...
Yeah.
It's weird.
I think I've also seen maybe another clickbait headline. I think Sargent is poised to move over to IndyCar.
Yeah, I can see that.
Makes a lot more sense, because drivers that struggled in F1, like Ericsson and Grosjean, I think Grosjean was okay. They've done really well in IndyCar.
Yeah, and to, come back to our favourite topic,
which is...
there's a lot of like your Giovinazzis and Buemi and Jenson Button in the endurance car as well.
Yeah, I think the Le Mans, to me, it was kind of evidence that you don't have to be an F1 driver to be successful. There is actually a field of professional racing drivers who make a career racing sports cars and other things. Formula One is such a niche. The percentage of racing drivers who ever even get in a Formula One car out of all of them is probably very small. So I think, that's why I think even the Bottases and the sort of, Hulkenbergs and Strolls, they think, I might never be champion, but at least I've been a career F1 driver. That's actually quite impressive in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. They are, it is the most elite level of the sport, but, there's like Japanese, is it Super Formula?
Yeah, there's Super Formula, IndyCar.
There's German DTM, there's World Endurance Championship, there's
BTCC, there's so many options that you could go for.
And make a very good living at it. And, I think you also do the Kimi Raikkonen thing, which is, oh look, they're paying me to drive the fastest cars on the planet.
Yeah. But yeah, I think also Kevin Magnussen said everybody's waiting for Sainz now in the drivers' market. He actually said in an interview, Sainz is the cork in the bottle. Whatever he decides, once that happens, the dominoes will start falling. Because every team wants him. If he goes to Williams, then suddenly Sargent's gone. Suddenly, if he goes to Haas, then suddenly Magnussen's gone. If he goes to Audi, then Bottas or Zhou will have to go somewhere.
Yeah, one thing, and it's like, when I say it out loud, it's blindingly obvious, but one thing occurred to me. That we're talking about... Oh, my brain's gone blank. Who's the... Doohan? Jack Doohan?
Yes.
We're talking about Jack Doohan, we're talking about Kimi Antonelli, we're talking about Lawson coming up. Ollie Behrman's floating around that kind of area as well.
Yeah.
But there's only 20 seats.
Yeah.
So for every single one of those that we're talking about who might get a seat next year...
Yeah.
It's harsh.
Someone has to go.
Yeah, somebody else has to be pushed out, There were 20 in the bed and the little one said, roll over.
Yeah.
And one fell out.
I think generally accepted Sargent's probably not going to last the year, or probably not going to last till next year.
Yeah.
I think Williams, they're not going to bin him halfway through, I don't think, unless they want to get Antonelli in, and that's why they needed the super license age lowering.
Yeah.
But honestly,
the Antonelli derogation, which sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel, but
it does.
Stress.
That does sound like a sci-fi phenomena. But I think if I was in charge of Antonelli, I'd just wait till August, because it's like 2 months. What's the point in getting him in several weeks before his birthday? It just seems a bit impatient.
No, I've just connected the dots on what you said as well.
Mm-hmm.
Science has actually said, and actually I believe him, I don't think he's just playing up to get a good contract. He said his focus now is on getting as many points for Ferrari as he can.
Yes.
He kind of understands that Hamilton is too big a fish for Ferrari to turn it down and just say, no, we love Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
But then he also said, I actually can't be thinking about how to optimise every race weekend, how to optimise all the upgrades, and be talking to my agent about the best place to go, who's got the best engine, what is going on.
Yeah.
So he's actually parked all of that until the summer break. But that means over the summer break, the pieces will start moving.
That is a pretty typical time for the silly season to get started.
Or to get into top gear, because Hamilton started it early.
Yeah, he started it before the season even began. That was hilarious.
But that also means that all the chatter that Sargent might get ditched over the summer break suddenly start to make sense, because that's when all the pieces will start moving.
Yeah.
Which then means you need Antonelli to get in before August, because everything's changing.
I thought the summer break was in August itself.
It might be days off his birthday or something.
Maybe.
I think they probably also want to get him out in some FP1s.
Yeah, I think that was it as well. But I mean, Sargent's probably out. Unfortunately, because I do like him and I think he deserves more of a chance, I think Zhou is probably out.
Yeah.
Because he's not really... Oh, but both Alfa Romeos haven't actually scored any points.
You mean Saubers?
Oh, whatever they are. I can't wait for them to be Audi for a few years so we can all get used to that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Magnussen, it's sort of debatable because he's really scored 1 point to Hulkenberg's 6. Hulkenberg's obviously got a seat already with Audi, so...
Ocon as well.
Yeah.
I mean, again, he's a good driver, he's fast, he's likeable, but...
This is already his second chance. He was already out for a year with the whole Racing Point thing.
And there's the whole kind of red mist teammate issue.
Yeah, and again, he's been in it for so long. Like, look at Verstappen's really cleaned himself up. He was very temperamental. But now he's actually quite chill. And that's why he's now a champion. I think Ocon hasn't done that.
Max Verstappen has got that balance of not the red mist like Ocon or Magnussen, who will just play banger racing.
Yeah.
But hyper-aggressive. Definitely going to fight till the last millimetre to get the corner.
Certainly,
but not
yeah.
over the line into like, oh my god, he's a danger.
Well, the thing is, he was very on the line with Hamilton because they were literally fighting for the championship.
Mm.
Ocon crashed into Gasly when they were fighting for, what was it, 15th?
Yeah, I think so.
Or when he unlapped himself against Verstappen, again, he was like 14th or something. It's just unnecessary at that point. You got to sort of zen out a bit.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on the time. There's one more rumour that I've heard that actually quite surprises me.
Yes.
For a start, Flavio Briatore's back, which I never thought I would say.
Yeah, I love the commentators. They all say Briatore's back after he was away from the sport. And then they stop talking. And it's like, are they not allowed to say the words crash
No, I've
gate?
heard them say Singapore 08.
Oh, I haven't.
And I've heard them say lifetime ban overturned on appeal.
Yeah. Anyway, he's back now, which is great.
But apparently one thing, nothing official, but one thing he might be looking at is to buy Mercedes customer engines. Which,
that is interesting.
But that's like not just look, they're buying new engines. That's a culture shift.
Renault have made engines for ages.
And Alpine has been a works team. And that would actually be a huge shift to go from works team to customer team.
The thing is, there are 4 engine suppliers on the grid. Honda, or Red Bull Powertrain, whatever they are, they do Red Bull and RB, that's fine.
Yeah.
Ferrari do themselves, Haas and Bottas's team, whatever they're called.
Sauber.
Yeah. Mercedes do themselves, McLaren, Aston Martin and Williams. But Renault, well, Alpine are only supplying themselves. So maybe it's not financially viable to make their own engine if they're not selling it to another team. Because they used to do McLaren and Red Bull for years.
But I've heard that Aston Martin are going to buy the Red Bull powertrain.
Oh.
Or
You know
Honda.
what's happening?
What?
2026, the engine regs are changing.
We've got engine silly season.
It's going to be like in the hybrid era. Suddenly, it was Red Bull, Renault were really good in 2010. Hybrid season came around, the Renault suddenly fell off a bit, and around 2018 they started looking at Honda. It's going to be a similar thing. They're thinking, who's sorted out this new engine? If Red Bull powertrains have, maybe that's what Alpine want, or maybe that's what Aston Martin want.
But then Red Bull powertrains, I can't remember, but I think they're adopting Ford branding on their engine to go properly back to the 70s.
Oh, what, Cosworth?
Yeah. Well, Ford apparently are supplying battery technology. But they want a name sponsor status, I think. I mean, it's still a long way out, but that's some rough guesses and what have you.
Sort of very tangentially related.
Yeah.
There's a new Bugatti hypercar. The Bugatti Tourbillon. And It's got a V16, not a W16, that was made with Cosworth.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's top speed 277.
Because you need that.
Pretty lightweight for Bugatti, to be honest. But, yeah,
again, I know we've had our 5 to 10 minutes, but it struck me the one thing we did not see over the whole weekend in Le Mans was a Bugatti. Not a Veyron.
No Veyron. I don't think
we saw any, not an EB110 or anything.
Not a Veyron or a Chiron. I don't think I've ever seen a Bugatti in real life, actually.
I don't think I have either. They're properly rarefied in the world of hypercars.
Even within the world of people rocking up with, like, chroma flare wrapped Aventadors.
Yeah, all those Bentleys, I looked it up. Those Bentleys, if they're rolling and in good nick, which these two were, you're talking a good average $250,000 each, maybe more if they've got, race pedigree or they're owned by one of the identifiable Bentley boys or...
Yeah.
So, yeah, we saw some properly high-end cars while we were out there, but I think Bugatti's next level.
I think Veyrons, even back in the day, they were at least €1 million.
Yeah, they were €1 million brand
they're
new.
So probably 1.5 to 2 nowadays.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, their sales lists were so locked down and the waiting lists were so long that even a second-hand one will probably be more than a new one.
Yeah. I mean, they are ridiculous cars, really, aren't they?
Yeah. Anyway, my homework before where are we going next? Austria?
Yes.
I will try and unpick the relationship between Red Bull powertrains, Honda and Ford. Maybe when I've had like 2 coffees and the house is quiet, because I've got a feeling that'll be a big job.
You can consult your spreadsheet of teams and stuff.
I've actually updated. I actually checked. It has been updated.
Oh, good.
With all the proper kick, Sauber, stake, F1
God
nonsense.
Yeah.
And also see what Aston Martin... But I've got a feeling Aston Martin are going to go the Honda RBPT line.
Yes.
Yeah, because then that leaves a gap in Mercedes' customer engine market. They're already supplying 4 teams. They go down to 3. Alpine will have a chance to just, grab another slot.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
Okay, I think we've probably got up to about time. We've analysed the Spanish Grand Prix.
Yep.
Did we mention that we went to Le Mans? I'm not sure.
I think we did, maybe. In
covered
passing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Austria next week.
Austria next week.
And
so
then...
we're going to be knocking out these podcasts once a week, and then we'll have the summer break. So,
and then week after that is Britain, and I will be in the same place as you for once.
Yep.
And also this one goes over my birthday, which is fun.
And there'll be no time difference. Yay!
Yeah. Usually it's an hour.
Unless it's Australia or something, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, 6 a.m. race start in Australia is always fun.
Yeah. So, I've been Graham Miller. If you like a good murder mystery, look up Graham H. Miller. All my search engines are optimised. You can find me anywhere. If you like to watch people playing games, look up Tibby's account. You're probably listening to this on his YouTube anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening. And It's goodbye from me.
And me, I guess. Bye.